Hey, what's up, guys? This is Ruben with Bridges Ablaze, and you are listening to Numb. You can find us anywhere on YouTube, Pandora, Spotify, whatever you deserve, whatever you desire. You are listening to John the Ninja.
Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's John the Ninja live in the dojo, aka the dojo. Yes, this is Studio C. I know this is not the usual, luscious, comfortable studio with my bed next to me and my TV behind me, but I told you, thanks to you guys and your viewership, we're making moves. I may or may not be in Michigan, or I might be in Florida, I might be in Detroit, who knows? But the beauty of Studio C is you know what studio I'm in. And I'm with a band that thoroughly has impressed me, and they've touched my heart as far as the understanding of music theory. They've literally taken a song that's 4 minutes long and made it so great, so structuredly well that it felt like an 8-minute journey that even if you listen to it again and again and again, you're still there. But let's get to how they started. This band is out of Austin, Texas, and these two men met at Guitar Center. Yes, I've heard the trope, you've heard the trope, all roads lead to Guitar Center, but not like this. This particular duo got into something that me as a guitarist would call a duel. But the duel didn't seem like a duel, it seemed like legitimate trade-offs. And it was so natural and it was so perfect that one of them was like, when one stopped, I was so destroyed. And that's the beauty when you meet somebody musically. But the duo Brien and Ruben met together and they exchanged numbers. Usually the Hollywood BS takes over and you never see them again, but they have cemented their friendship over years. Now, this meeting happened in 2014. They formed the band in 2019, and this band is Bridges Ablaze, who is a voice of a generation that refuses to be put into a box. The duo has such a wide variety. I mentioned music theory, but they'll go from death metal to jazz and beyond and craft their own sound, making every single move in that song unique. Their cover of 30 Seconds to Mars of The Kill and their title single, Hellbent, has surpassed over 150,000 streams on Spotify and even more on Instagram, and we're talking YouTube and all your other music outlets. But we are here to talk about their latest single, Numb. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Bridges Ablaze. Gentlemen, how are you?
Fired up, dude. Thank you.
Man, doing good. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. I know you guys dropped some pictures yesterday. You both were on the acoustics, showing that you guys were going to do some new music. You know, I had to ask because you guys said that the music writing process between you two was so fluid, and the best example we just gave away was when you guys first met at Guitar Center, going back and forth. You know, when you initially create music, being so able and so familiar with what you need to create the sound from head to, you know, the world, do you guys usually start your songs on acoustics, or is it more so like, no, I have the sound already, I need to hop on the amp, or I need to go to the computer and get this?
I would say typically on the guitar. What would you say, Ruben?
Honestly, yeah, just the guitar. So I guess to start off, it'd be you hear it in the head. You're like, all right, what's around me? Is the instrument near me? So you pick it up, you try to fiddle with it. You're like, okay, I'm vibing with something, and then from there you just start to try to bring it out as best as you can. And you know, me and Brian were always just talking about it. Like, dude, I came up with this. We send each other some raw takes via iPhone recordings. Dude, check this out, and then he sends me something else. Dude, I hear this too. Check this out. And it's just it just becomes a fun game, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. Usually it's electric, maybe like 70% of the time, and then, maybe 30% of the time, whatever we can, grab first. Sometimes we'll just be like, bop, and into the
Yes.
voice memo. If, that's all we got. Sometimes it'll be, something else like a MIDI file, but it's usually electric.
Geez, I haven't touched MIDI in a long time, and I'm so inspired by the way you guys write because, like, I'm not a musician, but I have music come to my head, and I'll try and put it out, and it's not the same as in the head. You know what I mean? You guys are so blessed to be able to put it out there and make it sound exactly like it was coming through God or the beings or whatever have you, which you believe in. But speaking of games, we got to address this Leon Kennedy situation with Resident Evil. My brother, I love this band. I love Leon Kennedy and Resident Evil. I didn't see it. I didn't see it. When's the video dropping so I can see this rendition everybody is talking about?
Brian, you want to spill the beans on this one?
Well, we just uploaded the single to our new distributor just the other day, so it's looking like we're slated for mid-June, maybe June 12th, June 17th for the single and the video.
And Ruben, put it out there for the crowd. What's happening? What am I mentioning? Because he's still got the hair, man.
I know. So hair, I thought about just cutting it. Brian's like, dude, just grow it out. Just grow it out. And it's probably our biggest production yet. Me and Brien, we just looked at our list and just kind of both called each other like, dude, are we really gonna do this? The storyboard was brought by our amazing director Wade and his co-director Miss Holly. I mean, the whole team was fantastic. They brought the vision to life from start to finish. It's very action packed, and I mean action packed. There's explosions and fight scene, and just zombies. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. It almost feels like a movie.
It does. It's pretty cinematic. It's pretty nuts. And everybody did great. Raymond on drums and Mike on the bass, Alex with the makeup, Wade and Holly with the directorial and storyboarding side of everything. It was a blast from top to bottom. The whole day. It was a long day, but it was a great day, and really stoked to bring it to you because not only is the video something different, but the music itself, it's a bit different than anything else we put out, I guess you could say.
No, man, you got to be careful, Ruben, because now your gimmick might end up being that you might have to be like Angus, come out in the schoolboy uniform. Now you go into Raccoon City PD uniform. You're gonna have to get the jacket, mix it up. But you guys are just so easy with it, man. You take an idea, and most people would be like, "What the hell? We're not doing that." You guys ran with it, and now look at the production, look at the stories you're gonna have. I do have to question favorite video games. Now that we're on the subject, top five.
That's a really tough one. Honestly, I'm just gonna run with it because this game just opened up my mind to a lot of the first-person world. It was Call of Duty. I still remember first time I ever playing that game. I lost myself.
The OG, or we talking Modern Warfare?
No, we're talking about the OG leading into the Modern Warfare. Woo!
I got that.
Good old PS2, man. What about you, Brad?
Oh, fuck. That is a tough question because I've fallen in love with so many throughout my whole life, from being a kid playing like Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, stuff like that, Jack and Daxter, and then, playing a ton of Call of Duty and, games like Left 4 Dead in college. Lots of fun with those. And then, a lot of Borderlands actually during the pandemic or Rocket League. So I'd say those are probably my favorites, but God, so many, it's hard to choose.
You guys are a band after my own heart. Before we actually dive into your story, I do have one last question. There's so many bands in Austin. You guys are acquainted with, some of the underground of the underground in the music scene that only diehards and true musicians know. But there is a band you mentioned that I love dearly, and that is The Sword. And I have to know your favorite song, and it cannot be Tears Like Diamonds. That's mine. I grabbed it. But I have to know what you admire, because when I think about it, I can really see not so much, that's the sword and you're playing, but I see how you guys are able to structure and make a left turn and do something fun, So when I heard you guys say The Sword was one of those influences, along with Avenged Sevenfold and the others, I was like, you know what, I really got to dive into this band, So what is your favorite Sword song, gentlemen?
Ruben, are you familiar with The Sword at all, or is that kind of my thing?
I think that's mainly your thing, brother.
Mainly my.
Okay. You gotta sign off real quick. It's just gonna be me and Brien now.
Yeah, so I discovered them. Logs off Zoom. Oh man, I discovered them in like 06. I was like 14 or 15, and I was like, wow, this is like Winter's Wolves off that first album. That was the first song I heard. So it was really that droning, what is it? Drop C tuning. That 0-1 thing they got going on with the do, and that really caught my eye, and ever since then I was a fan. But I'd say either Winter's Wolves, The Sundering, which is the opening track off the second album, or the song How Heavy This Axe, which is also on the second album. It's one of those three.
So you're like through and through, the beginning till now, man. I love that.
Yeah, I guess say I'm like an OG fan, because I remember back watching back in high school, watching YouTube videos of them playing the old emos in Austin in 06, and it was all small and stuff, and their video had 20,000 views, and I was like, God, these guys are gonna blow up, and they did.
I got into them in college because my buddy and his uncle were really big fans, and it's one of the best concerts I've ever needed. When you need to get out and you need a drink, and Man, it was all that and a bag of chips. It was more so. Gentlemen, let's go into your beginnings because both of you, again, very influenced by the same stuff I listen to and music everybody loves, but it's very defining when a music and a song hits you. For me, it was TNT. You know, for Brien, it was Thunderstruck. Ruben, you were listening to, I almost said Thunderbird. Freebird, sorry. But you know, once you find it, once you latch onto it, you both understand the need to play and emulate and etc. So I wanted to gather who was the biggest influence when you first started to play, and what was the biggest thing you took for them. For me, it was AC/DC, and I think for me it will always be the fact that you can play something at a different spot. It blew my mind seeing Angus play here and Malcolm play here, and I was like, that's not possible. And then you learn and you dive into it. Other than learning to strum, which is really big, I would say that's probably one of the biggest lessons. So what did you guys take from your initial influence? Who were they that really you would say they got the ball rolling, and then I went through with everybody else?
I love this question. Um, I will say the one that kind of opened the doors for me was for sure. You got it. Amazing memory, by the way. Leonard Skinner, man. I remember listening to that song with my stepdad. You know, him and I would always fight over the radio. And when that song came on, I lost it. I was like, dude, this is amazing. So I started diving into the world, rock and roll, and then later on found out Metallica. I mean, who doesn't love Metallica, dude? You know, James Hetfield with the legendary down pick. You're like, dude, how's that possible? Then, you know, you have Kirk Hammett with the wah and the sweeps and all that cool stuff. And I just remember hearing one of the guitar solos from Kirk Hammett and just thinking to myself, I can probably do this. Later on, found out about Sinister Gates. I want to say probably when Sinister Gates came into my life and music, is just like, okay, I want to do what he's doing. I want a sweet pick like that. He's cool. So later on, you know, just started really droning it in, you know, just being in the room all day, just trying to play, you know, the intro sweeps to Beast and the Harlots, you know, those awesome melodies. It just took me away, man. It took me for a wild ride.
Yeah, man. All of those bands like Metallica, Avenged Sevenfold. I would say what I learned from them was, I guess, because all those bands are, you know, my origin as well, you know, especially Avenged and Metallica. I was literally watching part of their Some Kind of Monster documentary today on YouTube because I had a hunch it might be on it and I found it. And just watching their process, you know, just getting lost in it. But anyways, it kind of made me think a little bit of us and it gave me some ideas, honestly. But I would say what I learned um, was just that innate ear, you know, like what should come next, you know, like should we do a heavier riff? Should we, you know, how should we alter the structure? Should we do a, you know, an open bridge, clean part of breakdown, something, you know, heavier, lighter, um, you know, things like that. In Metallica, I think, you know, if you just listen to their compositions, you kind of get a feel for just the arrangement of it, you know, including lead guitars, but the whole thing.
I'm at odds because Ruben, you play trumpet too, man. I want to talk about that. But you know, I find it so fascinating that you both are so theory inclined, and I've studied theory for a time. My school even sent me on the transcript. It said I had a theory minor. I lied to myself. I was telling people I had a minor, and we had to check, and it was like, oh, you don't. I was like, you bastards. So I remember how incredibly difficult it was for me to learn theory the correct way, the way they teach it in music class. And my teachers, some of them also professional musicians, touring and doing what you're doing, you know, they had to dumb it down to a point where, you know, 1 + 1 = 2, John. You're overcomplicating it. Do you guys feel that this is just a natural gift, or was it something kind of like what Zach Wilde says? You got to sit down and you just got to plug and plug and plug, and when the time comes, you know, him and Gus G, wonderful examples of, you know, when you put the time in, you're gonna get the results. Do you guys feel like playing guitar and learning the music was natural, or do you feel like, no, I busted my ass and I earned this?
The second one.
Yeah, I'd definitely say it's closer to the second one for sure.
Most definitely agreed. And even to this day, there's some stuff that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. But you
Oh
know,
yeah.
you know, and Brien, he's, you know, he helps out a lot. I mean, just the way he explains things with music theory, man, it's pretty groundbreaking to me. you know, because I'm just overcomplicating. I'm like, oh, dude, what's 1 + 1? Brian's like, bro, it's 2. And then he writes it out. He goes as far as drawing it out and gets the guitar. And I'm really grateful for him to do that. You know, it's amazing. But you know, going back to the trumpet thing, you know, that's, you know, I remember just sitting there just trying to learn everything, like these little 3 valves. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? And you know, flats, sharps, all that. And I just remember our band director at the time, she would always tell us, just go home, practice for at least 15 minutes every day. And she would have us have our parents sign a little slip saying that we practiced, otherwise we'd be in trouble. And I remember one of the guys in middle school, he would always get first chair. And I was like, dude, he always gets all the cool parts, the higher harmonies, you know, little solos. I want to do that. So I started, you know, what you stated in the second part, you busting your ass. And sure enough, started getting closer and closer. Third chair, second chair, got first chair, got my first moment. I'm like, oh, and I just wanted to chase it. So then I transferred it to guitar and it just took off.
Man, I wish I had that fortitude, man. I was so pissed to be in that class. No, you know why? I don't know what happened, gentlemen. Something about my thinking. I think it's, you know, I'm a bad Christian, but, you know, religiously, it's just, you know, you want certain things and you don't. For me, my mom wanted me to play piano, and this is before I got into music. So I learned, now I can technically play, but it's at a 3rd grade level. You know, I didn't want to do it. I didn't try. And then I saw trumpet and I was like, oh, I want to do that. Mom, if you let me quit piano, I was going to dive into trumpet. And then they made me do both. And I was like, well, forget this shit. So man, I was happy with 3rd chair. You leave me from C to G. I'm a happy kid. I will rock that shit. Let the first do whatever she wants. I don't care. So, you know, but I'm so thankful for my parents being open. Because my dad loved the rock, my mom did not. But she was so encouraging to get me the guitar and let me learn it. And man, I can't tell you how many countless weekends in the basement playing on a guitar acoustic that couldn't be tuned, playing AC/DC's Family Jewels. You know, speaking of AC/DC, we're going to get back to you, Ruben. Hang tight. Brian, I have to ask, since Thunderstruck was that song for you, can you play it strumming? Because one of the most difficult things for me to play that song correctly is strumming it and playing that little simple beat everybody loves, that dun, 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 dun. I can't do it. I have to do the hammer-on. And, you know, of course the lore is, you know, he taped the other strings and then did it that way. But no matter what I do, I cannot syncopate the strum and the I forgot what you called a hammer-on. Sorry about that. So how do you play it? Did you find that difficult as well? Or is that something that was kind of like, oh no, John, you're being ridiculous. You can't play?
For the first few years, it was impossible, right? It was super, super difficult. But just after, you know, the years, honestly, I think it was maybe like 5 or 6 years into playing, I kind of realized that my right hand was kind of weak. And so throughout pretty much ever since then, I've really emphasized right hand exercises, you know, just to compensate because I'm actually left-handed. You know, my parents got me a righty guitar because they didn't think I would really stick with it, and I totally did. So, but anyways, you know, after quite a few years, I feel like it just started to get more and more natural, and these days I could do it however. Sometimes I like to kind of spruce it up, throw in some slides and extra notes in there and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. Yeah.
Bro, you need to call Gus G ASAP, man. That is cool. He's gonna appreciate that story. So, you know, we have bits and pieces between you two about your lives prior to, you know, Brian, you have your degree. Ruben, I believe you are a vet. Is that true, sir?
No, sir, not a veteran. I was looking into going that path, but took it from a higher being that related different path for me to follow. I said, all right, I'm gonna go down this path because if you want, I can elaborate. I went to, you know, I did the whole thing. You know, went to the military recruiter. They told me you need to get a certain score in your ASVAB, and you know you're in. We'll send you off. I was committed coming out of ROTC from high school. You know, just I was like, okay, well, I have all this experience. I could go in as an E2, E3. You know, I was gonna make my stepdad proud. He's prior military, Army. So I was like, all right, cool, let's get it going. And studied the ASVAB nonstop. And I remember I'd passed the practice ASVABs. And normally they're a little harder than the real ones. and I would always fail the real one by a few points. My recruiter would always say, "What the hell? How's that possible? You're acing the practice, but you're failing the real one." All right, well, study again, study, and the last one you have to wait a certain amount. I think it's a year before you can retake it because you get strikes. And when that last one, I remember just looking at the computer and I said, "Well, if I pass, I'm intended to go down this path, but if I fail, you know what? I'm gonna close this door. I'm gonna turn around and follow my heart, which is music." And sure enough, failed it by I think like 1 or 2 points or something, and just turned.
Did you have a specific job in mind? Also, thank you to your dad. My family's military too, same branch. When I took the test in the same situation, my my score actually came out a certain way, but I had a different way of being told, don't pursue it. This is, where you need to be. I just remember the pressure for one other kid. He was freaking out, man. And you can't say anything, you can't talk to other people, but he's punching his head. He's like, and you're kind of like, you want to reach out, but like, bro, slow down, relax. It's fail or not, it's not that deep. Did you guys get the same pressure? Did you feel that for yourself, or was it more of like, you know what, this will determine what happens, and I'm okay with that?
Pretty much, because my parents only gave me two options: it's either military or college. There was no A or B. I mean, there was no middle plan, and there was only A or B. And I remember just sitting there like, dude, I need to do this because I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I don't really have a lot of background on too many things besides what I've attained since I moved out to Austin. That was all just a lot of work. But anyways, going back to your question, yeah, I felt a lot of pressure, but honestly, I was okay with the results. I'm happy where I'm at because if it wasn't for that happening, I would have never gone out to Austin. I would have never met Brien. Bridges would have never been born. It's crazy how this whole thing played out.
Indeed. And Brien, you have such an Alice in Chains story too. I think of not Lane Staley. I think of our his Lord and Savior. Help me out. The guitarist Jerry Cantrell.
Oh, Jerry. Yeah.
When he was you actually graduated. Jerry was in class. And he was like, you know what? Screw this. You want to do this? Yeah. Here's my books, teacher. I don't even know why he sat back down. I'm like, bro, what do you, just leave. But you know what? You have your degree. You were a teacher. If I'm correct, you have your degree in engineering and software, or to that extent, if you could help me out. I'm not entirely sure the differentiation.
So I finished a 4-year degree in oil and gas, petroleum engineering, basically. And then after that, I did surfactant, basically worked with surfactants and polymers, basically engineering them for enhanced oil recovery stuff. And then after that, I went into software for a few years, and worked at a company and helped them out with some stuff. But that was a bit of a career jump. I just was looking for a job that would be a little bit less insane because the engineering job was quite high stress, at least at times, and I found it very difficult to tour, very difficult to schedule all that. Anything more than a few days was, I basically had to like sleep on lab chairs and log like 72-hour days and stuff just to like make up hours. It was unreal. So I found a startup in Austin and developed a great relationship with my boss at that company. And, he would like let me take a couple weeks off if I really needed to. So
Let's skip past your initial first meeting, gentlemen. Let's get to the point where, Ruben is doing his touring and that's kind of died down. You're aching to play. You're aching to do this. Could you guys walk me back to that moment? You said, you know what? We've been talking about this for so long. Let's get together. Was it just a casual meetup like, hey, you know what? You're not doing anything. I'm not doing anything. Let's jam. Or was it like, bro, let's knock this out. We have work to do.
Ruben, what was it, 2019?
It was 2019. My project at the time. It was a lot of weight on my shoulders because I wanted to do recording, and I was like, dude, we need to have something to show for ourselves, and I didn't, we didn't have any money. So I was thinking, okay, well, I'm gonna learn on myself. So I bought books, how to become an audio engineer, how to mix and master, if you will. And it's hard, man. So I remember I was really stressed. Things just fell apart. Everybody just started doing their own thing. Practices weren't happening. And for those that did show up when we needed to jam, hey, cool. Appreciate them, love them to death. But then I remember it just fell apart. I was mentally drained. Work was draining my soul. I was just like, man, I'm done. Brien kind of the way I look at it was like the knight in shining armor just comes out. Ruben, let's go on a journey. I remember we just went to, or he came over to my apartment at the time, and we were just jamming. We were just talking about our experiences with our past projects, right, Brien?
Yep, that's kind of how it started. Is we both had some failed projects, and we weren't really. I know for a fact, at least I wasn't fulfilled, and I was just really looking for, what would be, I guess, what's the word, like the one, like in terms of a project or an endeavor, like something to really commit to, and so yeah, I was just kind of talking about like, this sucks. I think we can do so much better than this.
Yeah. And I remember we were just throwing out random names just to see what sticks. Bridges Ablaze. I remember we added the D, and then I think Brian's like, dude, just drop the D. Bridges
Yeah,
Ablaze. Like, oh, sounds sick. Let's
Bridges
go.
Ablaze. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, we didn't. I don't think either of us had really done vocals in this capacity before. Maybe backing vocals or something. We were just lead guitarists, and so we just chose a cover to be our first song, just to see if this would even be like viable. Like, are we even gonna sound good, or is it gonna just be like sound like dying animals or something? So we had no idea. So
Now, was that covered the 30 Seconds to Mars one? Am I correct? Yes, man. But I have to ask musically. Please explain to me how you came up with the harmony, the sweeping for the solo, and just going that section was so beautiful to me as a guitarist. That's the skill level I would aspire to play. I can't sweep for crap. I've been practicing, don't get me wrong. I've been doing my death clock sweeps and all that, but there's music that you hear it touches you on a spiritual level, it touches you on an emotional level. That hit every single click for me, that song in that particular section, as far as me loving music. So please elaborate its writing as far as the musicality, and just for the fans that aren't aware, please stress what that song meant to you guys as well.
Man, Brien, how do you want to open this one up, brother?
well, it's mostly your song. I mean, it's honestly Ruben's song. It was actually in 2014 at Guitar Center when I got his number. He showed me a song. He's like, "Yo, check this out," or something. This is what we just wrote, and it was Heartbroken, like 10 years ago. And I was like, man, I want to work with this guy.
Yeah,
So
the old version was different, and I remember just thinking to myself, dude, we need to revisit the song. We need to give it a facelift, if you will. And it got there. Honestly, like the way it is now, man, I would have never envisioned it, how it could have ever been this way. Back then I was thinking this is how it has to be. Then we go to our lovely producer Robbie Joyner, and then he's like, dude, this is sick. Started just jamming some of it, and then Brien comes up with sick leads, beautiful leads to the guitar. Then the next day changes it to something even better than what you hear now. But just going through the process, it was beautiful. I know. And Brien, I know you say it's mostly my song, but brother, it's our song. We wrote it. You know it, you feel it too.
I mean, it was honestly like largely you and Robbie, and I kind of just took a back seat on this one. But what I did do is I did the chorus leads on the guitar, and I did write actually that whole harmonized section, like where I come in the section that me and Ruben harmonize. It's kind of wild because I actually wrote that portion maybe 3 or 4 years ago, or maybe yeah, 3 or 4 years ago from now. So like a couple of years ago at that point, because the song was definitely a bit older than 2023. I think we recorded and wrote that one like 2022. But yeah, by that point, I had an old solo I wrote that never got used, and it was one of my favorite things that I had done, and it wasn't really anything. I just felt like it was special because of the harmonies I put into it, because I was kind of mixing and matching theory. I was going with like the pentatonic box, but then I was studying polyphia and like other things, and I was like, okay, so maybe throw in like one minor note, but leave it mostly pentatonic, and then throw in like, different kinds of harmonies in there, like minor thirds over pentatonic notes. And so I had this thing and I was just like, man, we need to throw it in there. And I was like, you know what? A couple weeks, I think, before the studio, or actually, Ruben, this was the one where we did like 3 dates, right?
Yes.
So it took like 6 weeks to record
Yeah.
because it was like we'd do a thing and then 2 weeks or 3 weeks and then do a thing and then another 3 weeks and then another date. Um, I remember just doing an impromptu session and just copying and pasting that and then recording I was like, I don't know what to put here, so I'll just do some stuff.
Yeah.
And then that was like my half of the solo. And they liked it, I liked it, so it just stuck. But it was kind of crazy because this song came from so many different areas, from like Ruben's past 10 years ago and like me working on another project. And we just took it and threw it in. And then our producer was like, we're deleting this chorus. And then he helped us come up with a completely new chorus. So it was just, a whole thing.
When I hear that and I try and compare it to Numb, beautiful representation of you guys being able to utilize all these different theories and go anywhere. It's once you know the rules, then you don't have to care. You can do whatever. But please walk me through Numb 2. It's gonna be literally the same question. How was it made? Were you inspired? Etc. It's the same BS, but I really, really wanted to stress the beauty in you guys making it a long song in 4 minutes. I'm a big Iron Maiden fan. I love Metallica when they do these long songs. There's a song, I don't know if you guys ever watched Kill Bill, but it was a remake when she's fighting Oren. It wasn't even the original version of that song, but it's Please Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood. I love going on a journey. I love listening, and I just have to stress how incredibly great the songwriting is when you're able to do that in 4 minutes. A lot of people are used to the pop and the punk where it's 3 minutes, 2 minutes, but you see it coming, it's over like that. You don't have that lingering feeling like, damn, that was a good long journey. So please, I guess I'm trying to say, without being able to formulate the question properly, how you guys were able to do that. Was that intentional?
I remember me and Brian, we were just talking about doing something a little electronically. And I remember just being in the apartment, just grabbing samples. I'm like, oh, this sounds cool. This sounds cool. And I'm not a drummer. So drummers out there, I apologize for programming such insane stuff, but it was unreal. It was unplayable. I remember our producer turns around. He's like, you guys trying to kill your drummer? We just went with the rhythm for it. Just kept going, man. We just kept building, right, Brian?
Yeah, Chug City, man. I remember Ruben was cooking up he cooked up the intro, and I come over, and this was at your old place. I think it was, I don't know if it was right around the time Alexis moved in or not, but it was kind of, I think she had already moved in.
Yeah.
And he showed me this super sick intro with these awesome, like, MIDI electronics. And I was like, man, and it did the and then it just, Ruben was like, I don't know what to put here. And I was like, bro, we need to put a drop. And I was like, maybe even an 8-string guitar, man, just something nuts, like a big drop. And so we took the 7-string and we down tuned the thing by like 5 half steps. Like it was so low that it was like flopping on the fretboard. So obviously at that point I was like, Ruben, we're gonna need 8-string guitars for this. But we tracked the demo on the 7 and we quad tracked it just to compensate so it wouldn't sound terrible. And yeah, that's kind of how it started. And then Ruben just was like a madman, just like programming these kick patterns. And I was like, this sounds really cool. And I said, our drummer's gonna die. But so yeah, a lot of it was honestly Ruben and then our producer just kind of suggesting notes, and then me being like the machine, just like playing what I was like told to play.
Oh, dude, you have to be there just in the recording process, because Brian, he's a machine. He's had our producer just turn around and just go, dude,
Dude,
insane.
honestly though, Ruben, you have like the most genius ideas though. Like this,
Thank
you're
you.
like the chef with the salt going off his elbow or whatever.
Right here and right here. And but I remember as the song was approaching, to what you guys hear now, I remember we were just thinking, dude, what are we gonna do for the beginning? And at that time I was thinking a little bit like Evanescence, emo-ish vibe, like sink it low, turn up the mic sensitivity a little more. And Robbie did, he turned it up, and I just really dug deep. We all dug deep in this one and just sung it. Brien was going through his stuff at the time, and that kind of inspired a lot of the lyrics. We kind of wrote around that, and we just carried it on to what you hear. And guitar solos went left and right, harmonies went left and right. This is just a lot of sauce, as Robbie would say.
Yep, lots of sauce.
When you guys compared in the past, what you said people should listen to the first time they hear your band, you said Hellbent. With the time you guys have had since then, would you still say that is true? That is the perfect representation of the band at this current moment for somebody who's listening to to you for the first time? Or would you say, it has changed a bit in the direction you guys have grown musically?
That's a very good one. Man, okay, so for the first timer, I'm gonna be just say it because the streams speak for itself. But yeah, people want to get into it. Stream Hellbent. You have that heavy drop. We can go heavy. It could also be melodic. We could be little nice hooks. We can do a little rap. I believe it's a solid representation of what Bridges can do. What me and Brien can do. Brien, what would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I'd say Hellbent's a good one. I'd say Heartbroken and Hellbent probably. But honestly though, I'd say it's really our new stuff.
Yes.
Like at least 2 or 3 of our new songs, I'd say, well, I don't know, we'll just see. But we have strong feelings about them. They're kind of different though, I mean, we never do the same thing twice, so.
You guys end up being like the Rock, RZA, and GZA, is what I'm gathering. Just really, really. You got the reference, my man. Thank you. The rap stars. The RZA, the GZA, the old dirty bastard. I already missed some. All right, so RZA, GZA, old dirty bastard, Inspector Deck, Raekwon, Chef, Ghostface Killer, You God, and Method Man. I'm missing somebody. Who did I miss?
You got it better than me. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Bro, I'm missing. I feel so bad too, cause y'all, if y'all could collaborate with Wu-Tang, that'd be pretty cool. So, bringing it back, reeling it in, the thing I love is you guys have such good back and forth. It's like a younger Pathos and Logos when I see you guys. You guys are so supportive of the other. And when I think back to my friendships that have lasted over decades and the moments, I always have this issue of, my friends have been so good to me in moments where I was desperate, I needed it. I didn't have a place to stay, sleep in my house. You don't have food or money to do this trip or eat, I got you. And then I look back on like what I would do to benefit them, and I'm like, other than time and maybe like a conversation here and there where they might have been freaking out at something, I really don't feel like I've been able to give back. And looking at the back and forth between you two, it's very evident you both feel very strongly of how supportive the other has been. So I was curious, when was the first time individually you guys recognized like, hey, the other did something for me that meant so much to me? That's how I knew they were a ride and die, because you guys have made this a business. There's rules and laws in Texas people aren't aware of that you guys said, you know what, we got this band, we believe in it, I got your back, and you guys have forged into it. And it's beyond the LLC, it's beyond the marketing that people are used to outside of Texas. So, to do that, to place your faith in somebody's life, the only other band I can think of doing something like that is Kiss. The moment where Gene Simmons and Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, Paul writes in his book, hey, there was a moment Gene defended me, and he never did that. Some dude said, what, you think you're special? And Gene said yes, and that's what solidified it. And then they blew up. So what was that moment for you guys respectively?
Man, I got one, Brien.
Good.
I remember recording with an individual. I'm gonna keep his name out of it.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yes,
I remember this
individual, and that individual, if you're listening to it, much love for you. We were recording, and I'm a big visionary, man. Like, I love to just speak in the highest possibilities. I don't care how big that goal is. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna try to aim it. If I miss, hey, you know what? I went pretty high. And I remember I just kept telling him, dude, I can't wait. This is, we're gonna be in front of stadiums. I already started. Keep in mind, we're just starting. And this person just turns around and is like, that's kind of a little narcissistic. And it kind of irked me. And
It
Brian,
irked
homie,
me too. I was like, Ruben's just happy. He's positive.
yeah.
He's
So he,
yeah, and I was just like, it irked me. I was
so
like,
yeah, feeling that, I was thinking, dude, man, like, why is he acting like this? And then Brian, he felt the same vibe. I remember he kind of gave me a look like, I'm not gonna let him get with it, get away with it. Sure enough, we made a pretty good hit. That individual's no longer in our circle, we're in our lives, and we're moving forward without them. But dude, ever since that moment, I've always looked at Brian like, damn, he's my homie. He's like a brother, and I never had, growing up, like an older brother. We always watch out for each other. And then, just it went into, I would tell him like, hey, dude, I have some stuff going on too, and he would help me out. He would help me kind of decipher everything, because there's moments where I freak out. I'm like, oh shoot, and then he's like, dude, it's okay. Let's put it to the side. Let's figure it out. Let me start figuring things out. And Brian, just love you, bro. Straight up.
love you
So
too, man. Yeah, I remember that, and I just felt like that dude was putting the most negative possible interpretation onto you and you were like the canvas of that projection. When it's like an individual, at the end of the day, maybe like they could choose, to view you either the most positively or the most negatively, and he chose the most negative, and I just didn't feel like that was fair. It's like why can't a guy dream? Why can't a person be positive and have hope? I think that's a beautiful thing, you know. But yeah, I mean, same, honestly. I feel like, we've been through a lot of trials and tribulations together looking back, man. Like that breakup, remember? Like, and all that stuff that happened in 2020 where she tried to like turn my friends against me, and all my friends stayed strong. It was amazing, you
yeah.
know. And I would say other times in the industry where you've seen me honestly be abused and screwed multiple times. And Ruben's always been the witness, and pretty much every time we're always like, what the hell is going on? And we usually pretty much always feel the same way about it. So it seems like from like a values perspective, we really align. So it's kind of made it easier to get through these situations because we always naturally just kind of feel the same way about them.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, there's been multiple of those where, my boys are there. Ruben, JD, they got my back.
No matter what, bro, forever and ever, and with some food.
Taco Bell.
Yes.
Brian, in other interviews, I didn't want to stress it in this one, but you have elaborated on the breakup and other painful situations, and the way me and Ruben are, I could just see it. Ruben, me, man, we one of a kind. We the same coin, bro. We excited. All hell could be breaking loose. Like, let's do it. Not thinking, about not so much the repercussion, but about the negative in the moment. It might come back later, but we're very happy. We're very jumpy. And Brian, when I see you, I see more of a stoic figure. You're able to see things in real time, kind of like the wise man. You see it, you elaborate on it. And I wonder, do you feel like there's pressure, like an added pressure to the way you view the world? Because, again, it's just you're able to do so much, man. I'm not taking away from you, Ruben. I love you too, man. Keep it there.
No, this,
But
this
I'm
is
just,
mine.
but when I think of the story of like, man, you have the capability to be an engineer. You have done all these wonderful things, and this is your choice as well. Do you feel like people look up to you, and you have that added pressure of like, I can't fail, or do you just kind of take it in stride when you do what you do best, and that's music?
Yeah, I guess I've always kind of felt that pressure because I've always had like this specter of achievement, this specter of excellence, follow me where I feel like I have to, do things in a certain kind of way. But I'd say lately it's another day's another day really. And I just try to get through it as much as I can. Um, but yeah, it's been a life, man. I yeah, I feel like I've always been kind of like a watcher. I remember having somebody tell me that a long time ago, actually, maybe 12 years ago. Like it was like this sort of party, like post high school party thing, and everybody was like playing, and I was just watching. That's just kind of me.
But then again, back to the other references, man. In this particular band, I love both of you are forcing each other to step up without fighting, without having to have that contention of like, oh, he did this, well, I gotta beat him. No, it's like, damn, he did that, man, I gotta do that shit too. Let's go. And you, Ruben, I had to ask, you know, you really showed it stepping up. It's like, yo, I'm an engineer this. I'm a drum tech this. You know, with Ruben being that influence, that guy who you feels like the one that's always, you know, like, oh man, he's this and that. You know, how do you feel like you've also stepped up in your writing and in your construction, trying to be on even level so you guys are together in this? You know what I mean? It's hard to describe, but you know, like, not saying like when you're just married, but maybe a team effort. Like when you're on a team, you know, you're with Kobe Bryant. It's not so much he's better than me and, you know, just pass him the ball, but Kobe wants me to be at his level and I want to be at Kobe's level, you know, trying to achieve that same level of excellence. You know what I mean? How do you feel that you've adapted, or have you noticed yourself adapting? Like I said, man, you've already put it out there that you're doing things, and most people, like you said, drum tech. I'm like, I could kick a drum. That's about it. I don't know how to do it on the mini.
Yeah, like the mini drums, they're cool, but I will say Brien, he inspired me in so many ways, man. Just I can go as far as, you know, or as small as, you know, looking at numbers or organizing stuff. Like I'm gonna start with organization, small as organization, all the way up to music theory, or just, you know, just everything, man. And especially with guitar playing, I'm just, you know, getting a list done. That's another thing I really noticed. You know, Brien always compiles a list. You know, hey, we got to get these things done. And something I've always noticed about Brien, no matter how tired he is, no matter what's gone through, he always finds that fire to go within him. I remember last, was it a week and a half, Brien, you came over. I was exhausted from work. I commute an hour to Austin and an hour and a half back because traffic. So about 12 and a half hours a week just driving, plus on top of the 40 or 50 hours I work. And I remember just coming home, I was just done. Brien shows up and I hug him. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, I'm tired. And just being in this room, my little studio room, you know, we were just kind of talking about everything and seeing him, you know, shredding. And then, you know, him telling me, all right, let's shred. Start shredding, dude. I had the second wind, the second fire. Him being so precise, him being so detailed has really helped me a ton, you know. If I could tell him, if I can go back in time and tell myself, hey, dude, you're actually gonna sing. You're gonna be able to front. I would have been like, man, you lied. But no, but with Brien, you know, him taking the initiative to take vocal lessons first and really tell me, and me hearing the proof. Now I'm taking vocal lessons. Seeing him take guitar lessons and understand theory. I started taking theory, and it goes to what you said. You know, Kobe's rising up, up, up. It's either I'm gonna stand on the sidelines in awe, or I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'm gonna try to catch up. That way we can both be even. You know, I want to be able to pass the ball with him. I want to make the shots too. You know, and there's moments where I'm making shots too. He's like, "Whoa, how'd you do that?" You know, it's endless, man. It's a beautiful, beautiful relationship.
Yeah, I feel like you've really inspired me too, Ruben. It's like, you know, your songs Never Too Late and Heartbroken Angel, I feel like kind of blew the hell out of mine. Like blew mine out of the water, you know, like because your songs were and are so good, and so I feel like it's those songs that really lit a fire into me to write, you know, better ones. And so that was kind of Heartless for me, you know. That was like my attempt at writing like a more complicated, crazy, like at least instrumental song, you know. Um, but yeah, like Never Too Late. That song's nuts.
Dude, it was fun. And speaking of your new song, Heartless, man, I'm gonna tell you right now, just hearing that and playing it, I remember just seeing him watching, I'm like, dude, what are you playing? He had to teach me. After we got done recording, we went to the little room next door to Robbie's studio. And I remember I brought my laptop, I brought my KRK speakers, and we were just jamming because that's what we do. We get off the studio, we go to the next room, and we plug in again. Hey, let's practice, let's record, let's do something. And then I was asking him, how do you do that? And he's like, oh, it's like the string skip. And it was hard, but dude, it's so much fun.
Yeah, Heartless is a blast. But
That's
yeah, man. Yeah, Ruben, you inspire me a lot.
Thanks, bro. Much love.
You know, I just see that joy constantly in you guys. You can hear it in the music. You can see it when you talk back and forth. You know, speaking of Metallica, you know, and the documentary especially. This was a question I had prior to. You know, you guys have musicians on rotation that know how to play these songs. You guys, have the Excel sheets. Again, back to the taxes and making this a business and fighting for this. What do you think? Have you guys discussed what it would take for somebody to have that Robert Trujillo moment to go like, yo, you make us better, and we want you to be indoctrinated into this? Because we are seeing and have seen in the past those two-man bands or the two-person bands, especially with like Royal Blood and the Black Keys. They have the band, they have the other members, they're just as much as part of the band as they are. But at the end of the day, it's still the two originals that put the work in. Do you guys feel like you would ever indoctrinate somebody, or is this just something where, we've had so much time that we're just gonna keep it us?
It'll probably always be me and Ruben as like the writers and the owners, but assuming that the relationship is good and ultimately, like you said, makes this whole thing just better, then yeah, the whole goal is to have kind of like a tenured, I guess you could say, sort of relationship, a long-term one. I was in a group therapy actually for a really long time with one of the drummers of Robert O'Keen and the Dixie Chicks, and he was a drummer in that band for like 30 years, and he would talk about how he would like go to the office and stuff, and essentially he had like a salary, with the band, right? So something like that is probably what we were talking about.
Agreed. Yeah, I'd have to be really convinced for them to become a tenured member.
Yeah.
And lately, we've just seen a lot of success. As me and Brian have referenced it, less cooks in the kitchen, the better. We're pumping out the dishes. People are loving them, eating them, and just help us carry it out to the world, and we'll be good.
Well, I do believe it may be a little difficult for a lot of musicians to play your math metal. The fact that you guys knew what that was too threw me off. I was like, damn, these bastards are living my dreams. Like, guys,
Brian.
do you have any stories on the East Coast, being in Philadelphia, or hold on, let me knock again. You're knocking. Any stories in Philly, any stories in Jersey, hell, even in New York. Just tell me some of the stories where you guys toured together or toured separately, and it was like, you know what, that was a story.
Brian, you gotta share that iCloud dropper.
Oh yeah, that Mississippi story. So this is with an old band. Ruben, I think you might have come to one of our shows actually, like one of the launch shows for that tour, or
Yes.
maybe it was the previous tour, but this was my last tour with them. And basically, we had a belt under the hood of the vehicle just snap, and so the car didn't work, so we had to pull over and figure it out. So we were on the side of the road, basically at a gas station in the middle of nowhere, Mississippi, maybe like an hour and a half, hour or two out of Jackson or Jacksonville or something, whatever it was. And honestly, like I couldn't really understand people there. It was a very thick, sounded almost like a Creole dialect or something. It was hard to understand people, and it was honestly a little scary. And we ended up splitting up, right? And I'm like, guys, this is how every horror movie starts. We don't split up, we stay together, but no, we split up. And so some of us stayed, some of us hitchhiked with a guy to go get a new belt. And, after like, phones dying, we're just sitting there like, okay, it's getting kind of serious, They finally come back with a new belt. We install it after like another 45 minutes. And in maybe the last like 15 minutes, they're about there. Sun's already starting to go down, we're already late to the show. We had to like contact the tour manager and everything, and tell them what happened. And I get this iCloud airdrop, on my iPhone. And I'm like, what's this? And so I open it, I accept it, and it's pictures of all these people, like dead people at like funeral homes being dressed up, in the makeup and stuff for services. And I'm going through this stuff and I'm like, what's going on? And I show my band and I'm like, guys, we need to go.
Pause. How long was it before you said, did you just scroll through one or two and go like, hey, or because it sounds like you're like,
I went through the whole thing.
Damn,
I went through the whole thing, and I was just like, guys.
Nah, bro, I would have stopped at one or two. I'd be like, hey, that's enough for me. Hey.
Yeah, I was curious, I guess. I was like, good God.
I'm just happy you're with us, brother. And just air hug. I'm just happy you're here.
What's your story, man?
Well, you dealing with a serial killer as well.
No, nothing to that extent. Not that serious. Thank goodness. Knock on wood, everybody's okay. But I want to say one of the crazy things that did happen. Me and my buddy, we were driving from Austin to El Paso because we were trying to still keep things going back in the day. Like with a band way over there in El Paso. And we're like, okay, well, let's go play a show over there. We'll call it a reunion show. Have a good time. And I remember just getting off of work, driving in my old Honda Civic, just driving down I-10 around what 1, 2 in the morning, tire just blows out on the right side, steering wheel goes to the right. I'm like, okay, cool. We'll try to inflate it. We're trying to inflate it. Radio dies. We're stranded in the middle of nowhere. Just no cell reception. It was terrible. And I remember this truck just pulls up and they helped us out. They gave me a jump because I needed it, swapped out the tire, went into a small town named Sonora, and I remember just hearing some weird noises, but it could have just been wolves, wildlife. I'm not too familiar with that town, but I remember just posting up in front of a tire shop, but like from what 3, 4 in the morning, not sleeping, just until they opened, buying a $170 something tire just to get back home to El Paso, getting there, buying a new battery, just to just for us to just make it back home. And we played the show normal, but nothing to Brian's extent to where I was getting airdropped these crazy pictures. Thankfully,
Damn, guys, I asked you for like happy, feel good stories. You're over here like, oh, we're gonna get murdered. We're fighting wildlife, us versus nature and humanity. Like, damn, you know.
that's
So,
about it. I'm kidding.
Tour is riveting.
what are your immediate goals and long-term goals? We all have the stardom in our head of like we want to perform in front of people, we want to be the stars, we want to be out there doing what we love, but there's always those short-term short-term girls, yeah, the groupies are coming, gents, be careful. uh, well, you know what, listen, just make sure you have a weapon or your wife there because they don't care, man. You just be like, excuse me, bitch, get off me, just ready to go. So back breaking character, I'm sorry, gentlemen. What are your short-term goals and what are your long-term goals as far as playing? And I don't mean like, oh, we want to tour stadiums, if that's a given. I'm talking more of like, hey, these are what we have down as like, this is part of the checklist.
That's a good one. Can't really think of anything right now off the top of my head. You, Brian?
Um, Financial sustainability is always nice. But beyond that, I mean, I'm not really in it for money. It's really that these songs are just a way to stay sane and process life. So I think it's really just about the songs for me, and making sure they go as far as they can because they impact people. Just the other day, I had a fan call me, didn't know the number, and they bought a shirt on our merch store. And the last couple of weeks have been really hectic for us both, and so it was my bad. I spaced. It was my mistake. It slipped through the cracks, and I'd imagine they were probably like upset in some capacity because it had been at least 3 weeks, pushing 4. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'll take care of you right away. And so I did, fulfilled the order, sent them tracking information, screenshots, links, everything they needed. And they ended up getting the shirt too. And I'm still talking with them. But when I first was talking to the guy, I was like, yeah. And then he just kind of started telling me about what was going on in his life. And, I don't want to divulge any of his personal information, but, he was really going through it. He'd lost some people and it was really weighing on him. And he told me that, it was our music that really helped him through. And I was just like, okay, you know what? Like whatever I'm going through, I can't let it get me down. Like I have to keep going because it's about stuff like this. So after having experienced that multiple times, I think it's really about that for me. It's about going through hell, making a song that just helps somehow, just expressing myself, and then hearing stories like that and just kind of creating this positive feedback loop. So whatever that is, emotionally, spiritually, and then financial sustainability. So are my 2 goals.
I wanted to end, but I feel like it would be a disservice with that statement now not to bring this up. Brian, you have, again, in other interviews, expanded on the pain and the hurt and the loss with your dad and family and other things. I didn't want to put that out there. And Ruben, you too, in other interviews, have put out the things you've gone through. You know, some of this stuff is extremely. There's a phrase, you know, where the psyche starts to be messing with your reality. Not saying that's what happened for you guys, but it's so upsetting that you can't focus in your everyday. You know, you'll hear stories about people in class and their, you know, boyfriend or husband's cheating on them, and they can't focus because that's on their mind. That type of stress is what you guys went through. But the beauty of what you do is you're taking your pain, transforming it into some very positive energy for other people to be like, I'm going through that too. Whether or not it's verbal in the lyrics or it's just the feeling of the music. When was the first time a fan went up to you guys individually, you know, and said, hey, this music, and then had a story like that for you, of like, this is what I'm going through? When was the first time you saw the impact of your music, gentlemen?
One that comes to mind, Brian. I mean, correct me if I'm remembering it wrong. The only one that really comes to mind with that question is that one person that reached out, like, hey, you know, your song kind of saved my wife. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, it was a song with Never Too Late, because
Yep.
Never Too Late was around the time when I had just quit drinking. You know, I was going with it a little too much. Just say that. Don't do that no more. And yeah, dude, just anyways, just getting that message, really seeing that, you know, that value, it really does make you feel happy. I remember just seeing that and I almost teared up. Just like as Brian said, you know, we went through hell thinking it, you know, it was for nothing. And then you have somebody saying, dude, your song saved me or saved my significant other. We're like, what? You know, it really strikes you here, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah, in a lot of ways, I feel like it's been a living hell. So just to know it helps people, it's everything.
I always end these with the most important question. What is the best piece of advice you guys have ever been given?
Man, that's a pretty good one.
I can relate to those. Born to lose. It's like it's a mountain of failure you climb, but from the point of view of an outsider, it's a mountain, right?
Um, Man, the only one, Brian, that really comes to mind is the one you and I are trying to make it together as one. We'll overcome.
I love that.
Yeah, it's just unity, man. You know, I guess to expand. You know, I feel like me and Brian have really been able to get where we are because you know we're together. You know, and one of us shakes, we both shake. I see him fall. You know, I get back down and I pick him back up. He sees me fall, he picks me up, we get back down. I mean, you know, he pushes me. That's what I meant to say. But yeah, dude, unity. You know, we're knocking it down no matter what. Together as one, we will overcome. You know, we're gonna make it happen.
1,000,000%. God, yeah, I don't know if I can really think of one off the top of my head other than today I was just thinking to myself just some Alan Watts stuff because I'm a big fan of Alan Watts. And there's an excerpt that Architects put in their song Memento Mori. I think it's on their 2016 album, so I think it's Tom Searle's last album with them before he died of cancer. So that was a really dark, very interesting, profound album. And those Alan Watts moments in that song Memento Mori really just hit me. Like the general idea is like to let go, right? Just to let go, just to be. Because you can't possibly hold on, it's futility. All you can really do is go with the river because the more you resist it, it's like the water's rushing past you. But if you go with it, it's like it's still, like you're at rest. And that metaphor it's always struck me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will say this. I've seen a lot of good men and I've seen a lot of strong friendships, and it was truly inspiring. It was an honor, and it made me feel good to see these young men, even though we're all the same age, relax guys, these guys have so much commitment to what they do and what they love, and more importantly, to have been able to see the impact. This band is Bridges Ablaze, and they are everywhere. Go check them out on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify. It's so easy. It ain't no extra like Bridges or Ablazing, Bridges this or that. No, it's straightforward. Bridges Ablaze. I swear you'll find them easily. And do not forget to check out their latest single, with more to come, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to say that now. But check out their single, Numb. Check out everything. They are fantastic. And, God, I'm so, sorry, Lord, I'm so jealous of how good they are as musicians. You got to hear it, man. Guys, thank you so much for a wonderful interview. I appreciate it, and it was so fun.
Thank you for having us.
And as always, ladies and gentlemen, remember, be smart, be mindful, go burn a bridge in a safe area, and listen to their music. And rock on. As always, Ninja out.
Hey everybody, it's Brien from Bridges Ablaze. Go check out our song Numb. It was just released a couple months ago. It's available anywhere, YouTube, Spotify, your mom's CD player, whatever you want. You are listening to John the Ninja.
Woo, baby, you listen to John the Ninja. All your ears are about to go on a vacation. John the Ninja's got what you need.